Good afternoon, Adobe Creative Educator community, and welcome to the Adobe Creative Educator Show. I'm Clara Galan, and I manage our educator community channels here at Adobe, and I'm very excited to be joined by two incredible guests this week. So if you are just joining in, if you're joining in from Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, please post in the chat where you are joining us from, and be sure to tweet with the hashtag Adobe EDU Creative for any top insights or perspectives during the show. So for those of you who have joined the show before as part of our Adobe Creative Educator community, we are a global community and go through the creative process of define, create, and reflect every show. We're here every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. So no matter where you're joining us in the world, whether morning or evening or afternoon, you can always catch the recording of this show on our social media channels. Again, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. But without further ado, I have a very special guest who is a science educator joining us today from India. For those of you who might follow her on Twitter, Kamal Preet is one of the founding members of our Adobe Creative Educator crew and an Adobe Creative Educator herself. We'll also be hearing from one of her amazing students, Samar, who's also joining us from India, and we'll be sharing a bit about a podcast that she hosts later on this morning. So without further ado, Kamal, I will bring you on to introduce yourself. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Oh, we're going to just unmute really quick. This always happens to me, like practically every show. How are you doing?
Thank you for inviting me. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing well. Fall is in full swing, and we're back to school in person here in Spain. So that's been really nice. And I know we're just catching up before the show. How's the school year been going so far?
It's been, we've got used to the pandemic now, and the schools are opening in many places in India, and hopefully they'll be opening in Bangalore soon as well.
Yes, and we're fingers crossed for all of this, and we're so happy that we can connect virtually and internationally in the meantime. But Kamal, tell us more about what you teach and your focus on in your institution.
Okay, I'm a middle school science teacher. I have been so for the past 12 years now, and I am super passionate about the SDGs, that is the Sustainable Development Goals, about gamification, about social emotional learning, and obviously, being a science teacher, I love STEM. So that's about me.
Okay, well, we're so excited to have you on this show, and I know there's a lot going on in this school year, so we appreciate you so much taking the time and sharing your expertise with us. And I know you mentioned the SDGs, but for those who might be unfamiliar and have not used them in their classroom before, what are the SDGs?
Okay, now the SDGs are also known as the global goals, and these were adopted by the United Nations in 2015, and they basically pertain to the three P's. That's how I teach my students. First is the planet. So we need to protect our planet, then to reduce poverty throughout the world, and to ensure peace and prosperity throughout the world. And they were adopted by the United Nations to address some problems which are there through across the world. So these are the global problems, and these global problems were then segregated into 7 SDGs, and they pertain to the economic, the social, as well as the environmental aspect of the planet. We've also, the United Nations has also given us a deadline. So you cannot actually have a goal without a deadline. So they've given us a deadline of 2030, which brings us to Agenda 2030. And right now it's 2021. We just have 9 years left to ensure that we are able to save our planet. We're able to achieve all of the 17 goals across the world.
And that is so powerful, especially with these 17 goals that we are all focused on as a international community. And I know this is something that no matter where educators or parents, students are joining in and watching this show, it affects all of us. And so this is really, not only in our community at Adobe, but across the world, making sure that we are rallying in this cry together, rallying in these actions to save our planet. And it's incredible to see, Kamal, the way that you've advocated for these sustainable development goals on social media, really brought awareness, but also, brought your students to really participate in this as they are the next generation. And, speaking of all of the connections you have, I love Twitter and social media because it allows us to connect internationally. And Kamal, I don't know if you and I would have been able to connect otherwise without like these incredible channels. So tell me more about how you are, using the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, in your professional learning community and online with other educators.
Okay, yeah, that's really important and it's really powerful considering that these SDGs do not pertain to any one country. They are not limited to any one place, okay, but these are problems that are faced by the entire world. And so it's but natural that everybody comes together, everybody rallies towards working towards achieving these goals. And therein comes the power of social media. So it is through social media that we are able to connect to other educators under the wing of various global projects. One of the projects that's going to come up is the Climate Action Project. There's another project, Plastic Pollution Project, in which we participated. There are many other projects which are related to each of the different SDGs. There's a beautiful project on peace, and very much each and every one of these SDGs is addressed through these global projects where teachers from around the world, they can join in and they can just pool in their effort, pool in their students to show their solidarity towards achieving these goals as a collective.
Wow. And that's so powerful to see all of the global voices come together. And is there a specific hashtag, I can kind of share that in the comments as well, that educators can use, as they're sharing about the Sustainable Development Goals?
Well, global SDGs works well, and there's this beautiful community of Teach SDGs. Teachers can join that. There is an ambassadorship program coming up over there, and perhaps they can join that. We need to have each and every person on this planet joining in this movement so that we are able to save our planet.
And I shared some of these hashtags below. You can see right there, global goals, SDGs, and Teach SDGs. And I know my colleague, Jennifer Williams, who's on our team, is very involved in this movement as well. So thank you so much for spearheading this internationally, Kamal. And I'd love to bring on another very special guest, who's joining from the student side. So I'll go ahead and bring Samar on, who's joining us also from India. Hello, Samar. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing great. And what about you? How are you doing, Miss Clara and Miss Kamal?
Wonderfully, wonderfully. We've been having a great conversation about the Sustainable Development Goals that, Samar, I know you're very passionate about. First, before we dive in, let's learn a little bit more about you. For those who are watching the show, can you tell us more about, what you like to study and what you're passionate about?
Right, so my name is Samar Mohanty. I'm a grade 10 student and the team lead of SDG Warriors, who are a team of passionate student change makers and STEMness on a mission to meet the global goals by 2030. And how do they do that? Using the power of STEM and 21st century skills, which are present in not only our curriculum, but also curriculums across the globe. So we connect with people around the world, know about their cultures, the problems that they are facing, and we both relate to each other's problems and find solutions so that we can help each other out. So that's pretty much what I like to do. And my favorite subjects, my number one favorite subject is science. I love English as well, and mathematics. Even though I don't get very good marks in that, I have a passion towards maths.
That's fantastic, and all skills that I'm sure you will use in any role that you go into the future. I know that you are so involved in this community, so we're so grateful for you to be promoting this again internationally. And I know you mentioned, Samar, a little bit about how you've been approaching the SDGs as a student. But are there, specific initiatives or, other ideas that other students can use the SDGs in their own classrooms or schools?
Right. So the main idea of the SDGs is that we have so many problems around the world. When we in our own room, we can see so many problems in different countries. We can see so many problems. So basically, problems are scattered all over the world. So when you look at them, it gets quite overwhelming. So how do you start by solving all these problems? Our work had been made easier by the United Nations because they gave the 17 SDGs, the Global Agenda 2030, and they listed out 169 targets that we need to achieve by 2030. So it was released back in 2015. So we were given a target of fulfilling all these targets of 15 years for 169 targets, and now that we have gone through all these past years, we only have 9 years left to achieve all these goals. So it's very, very important for students and youth in general to use their power of creativity, the creative ideas that they have, the technologies that they have been introduced to during this globalization era, and the interconnectedness and innovative ideas that they have been developing over the past few years to for and achieve the sustainable development goals by 2030. So they can perhaps do that by mainly raising awareness and empowering their own voices. Student voice has a very big power. It plays a very huge role in today's world. Every voice matters, and every voice is represents one person. And if we go ahead and take that one voice multiplied by the number of people living in this planet and the number of children, it can make a huge difference. And the only thing that we need to realize is that student voice matters, and it needs to be empowered and respected. So children can participate in global projects, they can raise awareness, they can practice all the things that they are learning in school at home, and the main thing that they can do is to apply whatever they are learning in school in real life. Application in real life is the most important part of achieving any sustainable development goal, whether it is life underwater, whether it is life on land, whether it is climate action. It is mostly covered in our textbooks. And if we just put that practice into real life, it can actually make a huge difference.
Absolutely. And you're already making a huge difference with all of the work that you're doing to share the sustainable development goals. And it's 9 years. And if you think about that, that's not a lot of time for us as a global society to come together. So everything that you've been doing from the student perspective, and students are that next generation that will, be going into these roles, solving the future problems of society. And so one quick question before we dive into our last set with Samar in particular, I see you put the SDG Warriors on your profile there. Is there any way that others that are watching the show can help the student movement? Is it that handle that they should share or reach out, or is there a hashtag? Like, what would be the best way?
The best way, like I mentioned before, was to empower your own voices. The SDG Warriors are a team of normal middle schoolers that prepare across the world. So if children can understand the SDGs, if they can understand the problems that they are facing, and if in case they have any such solutions for any of the SDGs, for any problem, then they can go ahead and promote that. They can raise awareness on that. They can share that. They can use their voice. And the best way to do that, children have the power of using social media. They have Instagram, they have TikTok, they have Facebook, they have Twitter. So they can go ahead and use their voice on social media. So you can start your own handle. You can, like we have the SDG Warriors, you can follow hashtags such as ma'am mentioned, hashtag hashtag global goals, hashtag teach SDGs, hashtag the SDGs. You can follow the official Twitter handle of the United Nations, which gives lots of facts and infographics on a daily basis so that you can become more aware of the solutions and problems that the world are facing. So that's it.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know if there's other teachers watching or students watching, be sure to take a look at SDG Warriors to see the work that they're doing. And, speaking of that, and just the workforce in general and how the world is changing with education, Kamal, I'd love to see, taking all these SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, into consideration. How do you think the world will change in the future in education and in the workforce? And what skills do you think it is important for our students to learn?
Well, no doubt about it. We need to have the 21st century skills. It's not just the content which is important nowadays, but the 21st century skills, specifically critical thinking, communication is very important, collaboration and creativity. These are paramount, and then using all these skills in our daily life in order to achieve these SDGs. They are very, very important. So these are the skills that I hope are going to become very, very important, are important right now in education, and as we proceed on, they're going to become even more important. Also, digital literacy has come into the picture, so it's always been there. However, with this pandemic, with remote learning taking place, now everybody is online. We were forced into coming online, but now I don't think education is ever going to go back to pre-pandemic era, if we can call it like that. Once the students come back to school, things are going to be digitized. It is going to be personalized, and that's what I expect in the future. And the best part is that if you're talking about these are the skills which are required by the companies as well, by the workforce. So yeah, that's what I imagine for the future.
Absolutely. And I love that, the creativity and collaboration piece, because we don't know what a lot of the issues that we'll be facing in the future are. We don't know what roles will look like, but we know if we can teach that creativity and that collaboration and strengthen those skills within students, that's what will help our society be successful and ultimately help to achieve some of those SDGs. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I know many educators who are watching, if you have thoughts, please be sure to share them in the comments, whether it's on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. We'd love to hear your perspective. So one last question before we dive into our create portion. Samar, I'd love to hear kind of, what are you excited about this year? There's been a lot of changes with the pandemic and remote learning, some schools going back to in-person learning, but what are you most excited about this year?
As a 10th grader, I think not only me, but other 10th graders also are very excited, or rather curious, to write the board exam, because the pattern has been changed and we don't know what questions to expect. So it'll be the first time that we'll be writing in this particular pattern. So that's something exciting. And apart from that, after we finish off with all our exams and all the stressful academic work, we are really excited to continue our work on the SDG Warriors podcast and go ahead and interview more guests, and also publish the episodes of many guests that we have had in the past that had been delayed for a long time because of exams. But then once the exams are over, we are so looking forward to spreading all the knowledge that we had gained from educators and scientists and change makers across the world, with the world and other students around.
Of course, now I'm on mute. Of course. Well, thank you for mentioning the podcast, and it sounds like best of luck with the exams coming up this year. And speaking of the podcast, I would love to move into the second part. So again, we go through define, create, and reflect, the creative process. So Samar, tell me a little bit about the podcast that you've been working on and what we can expect this year. And I believe I can either share my screen, or Kamal, if you want to share your screen, I can bring that up actually on mine. And Samar, I'll hand it off to you as I go ahead and share my screen here.
All right, so the SDC Warriors podcast had been started by a group of enthusiasts who wanted to learn more about how can they be the change today and make a difference today. So, like I mentioned earlier, every voice matters. And we not only want to empower our own voices, but whatever voices that we hear around the world, we want to spread awareness about that as well. We want to share the knowledge and we want to enlighten everybody in the world the maximum impact that we can make right now sitting at home. So we decided to launch a podcast, and over here we invite people who do STEM. That is, they are making a difference on field, like explorers and scientists and other change makers that we often connect with around the world, and also the people who teach STEM, that is the educators, or in other words, the edu heroes that are making an impact in the educator sector, the people who are teaching us. So we are going ahead and adding their voice into this platform, the SDG Warriors podcast. And in the future, after our exams, you can expect a whole load of episodes covering many topics, such as you have topics such as mangrove conservation coming into the place. You have topics like edtech coming into the play, and then there are many others as well. I don't want to reveal much, but only thing that I would say is stay tuned. And the SDG Warriors podcast is surely going to continue for a very long time now. And also, one last thing, if you want to go ahead and be a part of the SDG Warriors podcast, you can go ahead and tag us along on Twitter, because we want to highlight the maximum number of voices possible as students. And if you think that your voice can make a difference, go ahead and be a part of the show.
Thank you. And again, if you are interested in participating in that podcast, you can see in Samar's profile there at SDG Warriors to continue to follow that work. Well, thank you for walking us through that, Samar, and looking forward to seeing which guests you have on next. I know you have a variety of very interesting perspectives, so looking forward to hearing from them. And Kamal, from the educator standpoint, I know that you also have some instructional resources that you can share with those who are tuning in to help teach the SDGs. So do you want to go ahead and share your screen, and I can share those links in the chat?
Sure, I'll do that. Give me a minute as I do that. Okay, so the first one that I have over here, this is Backyard Bio. So this we did as a part of Bio Blitz. It was the first time that we conducted Bio Blitz in our classroom, where the children they had to go outside and observe urban nature, and whatever pictures that they could capture, they then had to find out, identify that particular organism, that particular animal, find the scientific name for that animal, okay, and create a post for that, okay, some interesting fact related to that animal. And this is the combined, these are some of the best pictures that the children have been able to capture. So this is Bio Blitz. You can just make your children go outside, take photographs, capture all the life around them, and have them identify the organisms, get more information related to the organism, and put it in a Spark page. So this is the first thing that I have to share. The second thing that I'd like to share over here is something known as Plastic Planet. I just forgot one thing, okay, that Backyard Bio, that would be related to life on land and life below water. These are SDGs 14 and 15. And then we have plastic planner. This is related to responsible consumption and production. And over here, okay, this is a resource. This is a lesson plan which was created as a part of ACE2 certification, and the teachers can just pick this up as it is. It has information on related to plastics. So what are plastics? Why do we recycle plastics? What's the process of recycling plastic? And then you have students going ahead and then identifying the different types of plastics which are there. So there are templates which are here. So this is the first assignment that's there. So this is just to help the students revise, okay, how is recycling of plastics done. Then there's a sample, so the teachers can just share this with their students. This is one assignment that's there. In addition to this, the next question comes, okay, if you're talking about recycling, that is it possible for all the plastics to be recycled? So there is an informative video, and then additional information, and the children just can go through this. And then the most important part, when you get to apply this in your life, where you have to identify the different types of plastic. So again, you have a template for doing that. Just get your plastic product, whatever you have made of plastic, okay, look for that symbol behind the product, and you would be able to identify what sort of plastic is it. Is it recyclable? Is it non-recyclable? So the children are they're not just studying about the thing, but they also get to use it in their daily life, identifying the different types of plastic. So it just goes on like this, okay, a couple of assignments for the teachers to just pick up, and the children, they can implement this in their classroom. So that is the second thing that I wanted to share. And like I said, okay, this year we are going big on responsible consumption and production, and we have actually completed a project on plastic pollution. This is the plastic project, and again, the project was I've collated everything, all the children's work, all the students' work in a weeklet. And an important part of this project, you have all the tasks listed out. You have the templates which you can share with the teams. And coming to the creativity, the most important and the most exciting part that we found from the project was when the children had to create they would be creating their Adobe Spark pages. So I'm just going to one of the teams, and this is the work which is being done with them. And they had a Q focus. They had a focus question, and then they gathered information related to that. They shared their perspective related to that by creating these Spark pages. So we ended up with so many Spark pages, and all those student voices getting shared over here. Yeah, that's like this. If you do it for your entire class, for the entire section, you end up with so much information being shared on plastic, on any topic. It need not just be plastic, it can be any topic like this. And Adobe Spark made it possible for the children to not just create the infographics, but also to create their voices, to share their voices on those Spark pages. So that is what I wanted to share. Oh, was the other, were we not able to see the other pages?
So the other pages, I just went ahead and shared them. So everything I shared, and I shared the links to everything. So we have just so everyone has those links again, the backyard bio I shared, the plastic planet Spark page I put on there. And then the last one we had up was the Wakelet collection. So I created shortened links that we'll also post in the chat. But these are incredible resources for educators to access. So again, no matter where you're based in the world, what you're teaching, these are all activities that you can do with your students. And Kamal, would love to hear a little bit more too about Adobe Spark page, like how how you've been using that so far in your classroom and when it pertains to SDGs.
Okay, first of all, the best part about Adobe Spark is it's so intuitive. It's like so user friendly. Uh, Unlike many of the softwares out there, first of all, it's free. Okay, that's the best part, and there are no strings attached over there. The second thing is, like I said, it's very intuitive. So there's it has, you don't really need to teach it to the students. You just give it to the students, they explore it on their own and they'll figure it out. And then if you give them an assignment, they'll be able to figure that out. Otherwise, I think not more than half an hour would be needed for them to go through the entire thing and start producing stuff themselves. And like I said, it's not just the older students who can use it. Even youngsters, okay, children as young as one, in first standard, second standards, they can use it seamlessly to create wonderful things. So that is about the Adobe Spark page. That's about Adobe Spark. And Spark, it comes in three variables. So that's even better. So the first example that I had shown you about BioBlitz, you can have the students, like I said, take photographs and just collate all that information on a web page. That's one of the things that can be done by Adobe Spark. The second thing is that the students can go ahead and they can compose, they can create a composition with those pictures. So each of these pictures that you see over here, these are photographs that have been taken by the students themselves from their homes, and then they collated it into if I can call it a collage or a picture. So they can do that. I never taught the students how to do this. They were able to figure it out by themselves. So that's the second thing. And then there is also the possibility of creating videos. I didn't share that right now, okay, but you could actually have students create stories using Adobe Video. And we've been doing that in by app smashing Minecraft with Adobe Spark. So the children creating their stories in Minecraft and then collating all those stories in Spark page. So and the best part is that you need not, like I said, you need not teach this to the students. You need not worry about how pretty it'll look and how it'll turn out. It is all done at the back end, and there are so many templates available out there. So many brilliant educators who are sharing their work, that it's just like if you go to the Adobe website for Adobe site for educators, there are tons of resources out there, and there are tons of partners who are creating these awesome resources. You have by Khan Academy, so you can pick up things from there, and then you can customize it according to your needs, according to your syllabus, and according to your learning outcomes.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing all this. And again, as you mentioned, I loved the collages that the students created in Adobe Spark Post and then put them into an Adobe Spark page. So it's pretty intuitive to use. And before we move on to the reflection question, Samar, I just wanted to give you another opportunity to share like what this experience was like, putting the Spark pages together, or anything else you'd like to add.
Right. So this Adobe Spark page, like ma'am mentioned, it was pretty simple for us to use because we weren't given much of a training. Mostly, as we know, that most of the learning occurs through hands-on sessions or actually doing it by our hands. So ma'am gave us the link, and then we tried out Adobe Spark. Most of us were able to create not so pretty looking, but then certain stuff that we had researched upon, like we had created posters on plastics, these impactful posters. For example, we had the background as Lego, and then we wrote down that the plastics are never ending. If you do not stop them, these will actually perish our species away. So it was quite impactful considering the image that was behind and then the effects that we had put on. Getting that the training for so less time and creating such amazing things in such a short amount of time actually tells us that the tool actually helped us to understand the tool that we were using. We didn't need to spend much time on that, and we could actually focus on the content, on the research, and on the point that we actually wanted to highlight and make a difference upon. So that was a very good point about Adobe Spark.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm hoping that it inspires other educators and other students who are tuning in to try out some of these project ideas with their own students. And again, if you are interested in participating in this global community, be sure to share with hashtag global goals, hashtag SDGs, and hashtag teach SDGs. And again, without further ado, I'll go to the last part of our live stream again, which is reflect. So again, we always go through the creative process of define, create, and reflect every show. So hopefully this is a process you can also implement with your own students. But we would like to know how you will teach the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, in your classroom. Again, be sure to share with the hashtag Adobe EDU Creative for all of your perspectives in this show. So we look forward to hearing from you, and we'll feature and retweet some of your perspectives shared on Twitter. But thank you again, Kamal and Samar. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was an absolute pleasure to learn about the work that you're doing, and really encourage you to continue it, because I know our community has benefited from it so much.
Thank you so much for inviting us on this show, Miss Clara, and thank you so much for empowering student voice over here, and empowering teacher voice, and empowering so many voices across the globe via the Adobe community.
Well, thank you. And thank you both so much. And looking forward to continuing to follow that podcast. Again, be sure to check out SDG Warriors. And we will see you all here next Thursday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time to continue our Creativity in the Clouds tour. Have a great week, everyone.